Hey folks, we're back. I'm your host, BKP, and we are at Circuit World here in Blue Ridge. Yes, a little cold this weekend, maybe a weather alert advisory out there. Might get a little snow, you don't know. I asked this guy you may know. I don't know if you know this guy.
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
I asked him if there was something psychological that we have to have the bread and milk, but anyhow, it's flying off the shelf. Hey, I'm at Circuit World. It is close to Christmas time, and you may want an Xbox or that 43-inch TV of your choice. I have an Xbox here. They are running a contest. You got to go to Circuit World of Blue Ridge, find their Facebook page, Circuit World of Blue Ridge, and like it. And once you like it, they will have the details up on the contest. Next Friday on this show, we're going to tell you who won that just in time for Christmas, and you're going to be able to choose a 43-inch TV or this Xbox.
Ooh.
You know, video games, Xbox, it's just not to play video games. I mean, you can stream on these things. You can do a little bit of everything on these things now that's different.
Well, you know that's how Hillary and Podesta's communicated, is through their Xbox to keep it off the emails.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's true.
This is the All-Star Political Panel, and it's Festivus. I have my weekly Festivus shirt on, and we will have the airing of the grievances earlier. We have Bruce, Candace, and Jane, and Rick cannot be with us this morning. Okay, let's start with the passing of 41, a President of the United States of America, the passing of 41, and some of the thoughts you may have as you watch the funeral. For me, trying to sum it up in a box, for me, so many things that took place, just how much I love this country. I absolutely love this country. Some of the things that took place this week, regardless of what you feel about the president, what you feel, there's certain things we do as a country that just make us great. It was amazing. I'm going to say, you know, I've read the social media and the, you know, Kaepernick and what we've gone through with kneeling at the flag for the last 2 years. No matter what anybody's political thought, Democrat, Independent, no matter what your thought is at all, the visual of a 95-year-old man saluting that casket, Bob Dole,
broke me up.
Let's start with you, Bruce. Let's go with that. What was your thoughts when you seen that happen?
Well, that was nice, but you know the rest of it I was kind of conflicted on. So,
how were you conflicted on?
Well, you don't know if 41 is like really, you know, the nice guy, you know, perfectly suited to be president, well trained and all that, elite, or you know he's a guy that basically has run a lot of things for the benefit of his family. So I'm just conflicted.
Okay. Don't you love how, and I forget who said it this week, it did go around, Rush may have said it first, but it did go around. Don't you love how Democrats love a dead Republican?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. Yes. They despise them when they're alive, but they laud them when they're dead.
What about you, Candace, this past week with 41's passing?
I agree with that. I remember when he was president, there was nothing he could do right for the press. He was constantly being harassed or criticized about something. Now he's like this, some sort of second coming, and I get tired of their hypocrisy. I do think that it was very interesting, Bob Dole being held up to salute him, because they had kind of a behind-the-scenes rivalry, because Bob Dole and him were like, Sherlock Holmes and Professor Moriarty or whatever. One would get the accolade and the other one had really worked for it, or vice versa, and so they sort of had this political rivalry going on, but it wasn't personal. At that point, people were able to compete with each other on a professional level and yet still be able to speak to each other and act nicely, on a non-political or work-related basis, which people can't do now. It's impossible to do. So that was nice. I think the president was overly criticized for his body language, which, all of a sudden all the press people are psychiatrists and able to read that and tell
they
you
assemble
exactly.
tables of people to analyze things that they don't know.
Well, they
You
don't know
mean Trump's
anything.
body
Yeah.
language.
Yes, Trump's body language. Yeah, because
What
George
about Obama's
H.W.
with his
doesn't
head
have
up?
any body language at this point. Well, and I don't like any of those four that were sitting there together. So I don't really want to say something ugly right now. But I think that our president has a right to not recite the Apostles' Creed or recite it if he wants to. Everybody reacts to death differently. He had just gotten back from the G20, so he might have had a couple things on his mind. So, give him a break. I don't want to be analyzed when I go to a funeral either. I think that's unreal and ridiculous.
I think I understand, Bruce, and I say respectfully because next week, next week in the next couple weeks, guys like myself or other people that analyze some of this stuff, we'll start discussing some different things. I mean, George H. Bush, it was the SNL crisis. I mean, we had the SNL crisis, George H. Bush, so many different things that we could discuss. But, I was conflicted. But for me, this week on my show, what I did is I said, look, there's a lot of things, but this is not going to be the week. I'm not going to be critical. I'm going to respect. I look at it as the things that just I love about this country, and how much I love this country when I do see the flag and I do see what we do and I do see how we stop and remember the ones that served. What say you, Jane?
Well, I watched those Marines and all of our armed forces just shine and show such respect for our country and for Bush. And the rotunda scene was really beautiful. But I'm with Bruce. I have to tell you, I don't even think I said, okay, I'm going into this and just trying to look over everything that I know and have read. I couldn't do that. I mean, I just kept thinking of Prescott Bush. He funded the Nazis. I'm just going to say that. If you don't believe me, look it up. And then there's the Kennedy assassination that there's a lot swiveling around. And I'll tell you, I just couldn't get past that when I looked at that casket. But I will say this country is fabulous, and they just sent him off in a royal fashion. I did turn over to CNN once or twice, and they were saying, well, Bush won't have this kind of funeral. My gosh. I mean, when they were taking the casket out of the car, those people were
Bad-mouthing Trump.
Bad-mouthing
About
Trump.
his
And
funeral.
the whole thing just made me very sad. But not just sad for his death, just sad for a lot of things. But I'm with you. I love this country. I hope we can save it.
Well, for me, it reinstates why I battle daily to try to get the truth out, and say, hey, let's make this country great again. And it's not make this country great again to take somebody's rights or to discriminate against somebody. And I think we all understand what we're talking about when we say make America great again. And the media wants to spin it into something else. So when I hear "Make America Great Again," I wish they would teach it in school. And what I'm saying is, I'm with you 100% on the Bush conflicts. But when I'm watching, I watched when they brought him in to the rotunda. Okay, and to me, I'm a little different. You realize on one side of this great country, on one side of that Capitol, you give the inauguration. On one set of steps, you give the inauguration, and you tell the people of this country, you elected me, this is my vision, this is my focus, and this is who I want to see us be as a people. Whatever your inauguration, on one side. On the other side of the Capitol, same Capitol, your casket comes in. Okay? To me, it just gives me goosebumps of who we are. It's the greatest transfer of power in the world. We transfer power to the next life. We transfer power when you're inaugurated. So for me, it's a symbolism of the greatest transfers of power on earth with no conflict. We transfer power in inauguration with no conflict. We transfer power to the next generation, the next things in the United States with the passing when we come together. Then a lot of people don't understand why the Speaker of the House speaks, okay, the leader of the Senate, the vice president and why they lay the wreaths. Because when they do that, what they're doing is this is the symbolism. I wish I teach this in school. When you get the over-the-top view, you have the President of the United States in the center, you have the Vice President of the United States, you have the House of Representatives, and you have the Senate. And that's why they speak in that order. Do you understand what I'm saying? And to me, yeah, the conflict, I agree, but to me, that was just amazing. And that's what I enjoy.
Well, one comment on Bush's mannerisms or his attitude. Don't forget that Bush has read I think all of the documents on Kennedy's death in the autopsy. Trump.
Yeah.
Trump has read all the documents. He knows that he was going to let it all come out. But I mean, if he released all of that, this country would go bananas. And he knows that. He knows not only that, he knows other things about the Bushes. I'm sorry. And if I were he and I knew the things he knows, for me to be praying over George Bush would be an impossibility. And I think he was just getting through it, honestly.
Well, I will say that. Go ahead, Candace.
He was not being disrespectful.
He was respecting the situation.
Exactly.
That's what everybody should do.
That's what I did this week. 100%. I respected the situation.
The position, because the office is of the president. It's like when Reagan died. Now, I was a big fan of Reagan, and when his horse went by with the riderless horse with the backward boots.
Yes.
I was brought to tears because that was so emotional. Because to me, he was always a kind of a cowboy in the movies, and then he rode a lot of horses during his life. But that was the saddest thing that I remember out of that was the horseless rider, and the riderless horse. It was sad, but everybody has. Everybody has character flaws. That's not something any of us can avoid. I agree with Bruce and Jane that Bush had his. The office I respect, and I do respect the pomp and circumstance of what we do for these people when they die, and that's our traditions are a good thing, and that's one thing the liberals are trying to take away from us in every way. In Christmas, in Thanksgiving, everything that's fun and good, and if it has any religious connotation at all, they're going to take that away and destroy it. That's their whole agenda, is to get us into a godless state so that they can go ahead with their communism or whatever they want to go with it.
I double back because I think Bruce hit it exactly in the conflicted, but then you wrap it up very well by exactly what I was saying. That's who we are. Now it's George H.W. Bush. Take it, you can like, dislike, we can break down the man, but that's who we are. We do step back, even no matter what we're thinking at the time, and respect the office. Hey, we're a country unified. Now, we can't pretend like things are not out there. I mean, if you're going to yell, if I'm going to get on, and I don't say yell, but if I'm going to get worked up and I'm going to yell rhinos and establishment Republicans, and if I'm going to say deep state, okay, and if Rush Limbaugh's going to say deep state, because he does. If these people that are conservatives on the right are going to talk about deep state, rhinos, establishment, no, just in general, day to day, we can't pretend that it doesn't exist now because of who died. Okay, yeah. And what I'm saying is, I know very well, that it was Reagan was close to picking Gerald Ford. Reagan was close to picking Gerald Ford for his vice president. Okay, and Reagan had to, the only way I know how to put it, accept George H. Bush. That was a deal.
Exactly. They don't have Republican national.
Well, they don't have a choice. The president-elect, the guys who are running really have pressure on who is going to be their
running mates. Bush and Reagan were close. That's why they decided. In support. So that's why they decided they wanted to put them together. Plus, they had an agenda for HW.
Right. Ronald Reagan, my words, I don't have this in a quote in a book anywhere, but Ronald Reagan did not want George H. Bush to be vice president of the United States. Bottom line. Okay. And that was done at the convention, and that was done because, to me, the establishment wanted to make sure they went into the White House with a foothold, and they didn't lose track of what they were trying to accomplish.
Exactly.
What
And
say
a
you?
lot of pundits today don't even care about that. You know, the mechanics of that, the chemistry of that back in the day. I mean, they go, so what? You know, Bush became the vice president, you know, over Ford. What's the big
This is
deal?
carrying on the
Elaborate
agenda.
on conflicted. I mean, I know you can do it in a respectful manner. Elaborate on conflicted.
Well, you know, if you look back 50, 70 years, you know, the U.S. political history, I mean, we've had these two families, you know, Kennedy's on the Democrats and the Bushes on the Republican side. So it's an interesting period in the sense of all the you know, backroom shenanigans that were going on, you know, to get these families in power, to keep them in power, and to get the brothers in and this and that and other, the sons. And so it's interesting in that sense, but, you know, has that really worked well for the U.S.? I mean, if we'd done things differently over that period, would we be a better country now? So that's sort of the conflict I have, that like these political power families have basically run the country, you know, for 50 to 70 years.
Okay, listen, we're going to take a break, and we've talked about the passing, the honoring of the 41st President George Herbert Walker Bush, which yesterday the funeral train was quite interesting. I enjoyed seeing that, and but we're going to take a break because now we want to switch, and when we come back, we want to find out. I want their opinion on why is everybody interested in Khashoggi. Why is that being made a big deal? Saudi Arabia and Khashoggi. Mueller and Michael Cohen. The memo on the and now Mueller today and
is Comey today?
no, Comey's testifying today. So let's come back and talk about a little of that. Let's switch gears.
Politics.